Hello, and welcome to the Business Behind Small Business, the show that reminds you that just because you own a business doesn't mean you're a business owner. In each episode, we will discuss a common issue small businesses face and offer tips and advice from the perspectives of two business owners, one that built to sell and one that built to inherit. We are your hosts, Sevana Stone and Chloe Lee. There's a lot of business behind small business, so let's get to it. So we've all been stuck at home for what feels like 16 years. And many companies have actually started in this pandemic time of ours. However, there are also many companies that went remote because of COVID and have decided to stay remote. Maybe your company has always been remote, and now your growth has you taking a second look at how your company functions. Maybe everyone in your family is working from home, and maybe you've got kids at home who are going to school like mine, and you're tearing your hair out, and you're wondering, are they ever going to see the inside of a school ever again? And somehow you just need to define your space. So, in saying that, Chloe, what does your office look like?
Oh my gosh. I feel like these past few months, everybody who wishes they could work from home, it used to be such a thing. I think half of those people wish they never wished that. They just want to go back to the office.
I take it back. I take it back.
Just kidding. This is good. Thank you for the lesson. Let's go back now. All right. So let's start with, what does your office look like? First, you kind of want to define what your workspace look like or what you want it to look like. So a few questions you can ask yourself to help determine this. 1, do you have an office? Or are you working from your kitchen table? 2, do you have a space that could be an office? 3, do other people have access to this space during the day? 4, does your office move from day to day? So, for example, are you moving from your bed to your bathroom, to your kitchen, to your living room? And last, if you currently do not have a dedicated space, do you have an ability to create one? All very good questions to kind of ponder about. What do you say?
Yes, absolutely. And when you are thinking about what your office looks like, you have to also determine what you look like. And I don't mean like physically, what do you look like? I mean, what do you, the business owner, look like? So you have to ask yourself, how are you going to work? Are you getting dressed for work? Do you have clear start and stop times? And does everyone know what your start and stop times are, which can be a challenge occasionally?
It does kind of bleed into each and every hour, right?
It really does. During work hours, are you doing work or are you doing chores? That tends to be the slippery slope that some people will fall into. And so you have to ask yourself, what are you actually actively doing during your work hours? Do you have a lot of distractions, or are you allowing distractions to hamper your productivity? And when I say distractions, that does include children. Do you take enough breaks? You have to ask yourself, are you taking enough breaks? Because you could either be doing one or the other, right? You're either paying way too much attention to your job or not enough. Or to your business, to your job or to your business. And are you feeling disconnected from your employees or from your clients?
Oh,
so those are all
one.
questions. Yeah, those are all questions you have to ask yourself about what you, the business owner, looks like.
It does kind of help sometimes to also think about what you look like.
Yeah, well, what do you look like? Are you a hot mess?
Yeah.
Or, like, how are you getting dressed? What are you doing?
I know, these days too, because, it's so funny. If you think about like back in a time previous to this whole COVID thing, right? Nobody wanted to do video calls. And then now
Right.
I feel like whenever somebody calls you, they're like on video and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, crap.
I don't want to I don't want to do this. I feel like all of my calls have become Zoom calls, and I get it because people are feeling very disconnected and they want to see a person. And it's more than just seeing a person at the grocery store, right? Like you pass people at the grocery store or you pass people when you go for a walk, but it's not the same when you're face to face, and we're craving it. We're social creatures. which is why I think we have so many more Zoom calls than I think we've ever had.
Yeah, I would say there are definitely days, multiple days have I said at the end of the day, I was like, I am completely zoomed out. If I ever have to see another Zoom for the rest of the night, oh, help me.
Yes.
But to your point about the grocery store and going out, I think the one thing is because most places we go to now requires masks, like you don't really even get to see anybody's full face. So like Zoom and video calls is as close as you get to the kind of almost like real interaction as we used to remember it. But at the same time, it is literally like every call. Right? It is every single call. I think in the beginning I was a little enthusiastic about it in the sense that, it's just kind of exciting that, hey, everybody is on video calls, like everybody's turning over a new leaf. Before it was like impossible to get anybody on video calls. And now everybody's eager to do it. And now, however many months later, I'm like off camera.
Yeah.
Can we just have a phone conversation at this point? I don't need to see you on my big screen. Thank you.
I know. It is jarring after a while, but it is really what we have as far as our human connection. And that's a question that we have to ask ourselves as business owners when we had the opportunity, which is a future podcast. So I'm not really going to go too deeply into it, but you have to ask yourself, or you do ask yourself, okay, so I used to network and I used to go to events and I used to actually see people and I could literally pound the pavement. And now I am stuck within my four walls. How do I get my business off the ground if all I have are things that I cannot touch? And maybe for someone who is much more tech savvy, it's like a dream come true. But for someone who is used to having a more organic relationship with the growth of their company, it can be awkward.
I can see that. It's like learning how to walk again, I feel like.
Yeah, it is.
A whole new way.
Yeah, it is. And so to speak to that, when you're in that position, now you have to say, okay, so now my business is inside of X space and I have to create a space that actually feels like I am going to work, actually feels like I am not here with everyone and the dogs and the cats and the birds and the reptiles and everybody else. And like me, I feel like Cinderella with the animals following me everywhere I go. So
your case is actually literal.
I mean, it's insane. So I think it would be great for you to tell our listeners how you think that they can make working from home work. What are some great ways for them to challenge themselves in building a defined space?
Right. And I mean, whether or not, as a listener, you've already was working from home, even before the pandemic, or the pandemic has kind of, allowed you to work from home for the first time. I think that some of the suggestions we have here would kind of apply to you. I know that personally, I was quasi already working remotely, even before the pandemic, but then, with it afterwards, it's a whole new level when, you can't really even go anywhere anymore. At least before, like you said, if you're networking or something, or if you're meeting somebody, you can at least go out and about here and there. Now, I have to say I probably get excited just to go to the grocery store because that's only so many options we have these days. Mm-hmm. So, truly, like, you want to make sure that your space that you're working from at home is a space that you can work in. Right. So, to start with, let it be like a physical, viewable space that is your office, even if it's just a desk sitting in the corner. Again, this comes back to having a defined space within your home. If you're lucky, maybe you have an actual separate room, but if not, sometimes it is just as simply as a desk somewhere. Your business needs to have an address. So that means whether it's a corner in a room or some unused converted closet, so be it. Look around your home and define a space that your business can actually live in. Also, have you thought about giving yourself a little privacy by setting up some kind of partition? Again, doesn't have to be very fancy, but just something that can kind of give you kind of a door, even if it is a metaphorical door. If your only option is to have your office in some kind of common area, say, for example, the kitchen table, think about, is it possible for you to pack up every night? Because the thing with it is, again, out of sight, out of mind. If, let's say, you have an open space, your kitchen table, and you have all your stuff spilled all over, I think mentally it's pretty hard for you to cut off what's work and what's work time and what's private time, especially if you're seeing it in front of you. So it's a good thing to think about of whether or not you can kind of pack away all your stuff every night, so you don't end up slipping into work into like unusual times, day and night, and then just unable to kind of get out of that cycle. Now, setting ground rules for yourself is good, but think about setting ground rules for everybody else in your house. So you were talking about having people following you around your home.
Yes.
Your kids coming in and out all the time. I'm sure you'd let your kids know that when you're working and the door is closed or there's a sign on the door, it means that, you're focused and please do not come and disturb mommy.
Yes. Yeah. And there have been times there have been multiple times when my son will walk in and he'll be like, guess what I just learned? And I'm like, well, that's great. You can tell me on your break. Because when you take your break is when I take my break. I don't want to hear about it. Get out. And, you feel bad about it. But on the other hand, it's like we have to have definitive times. You need definitive times. I need definitive times. We'll go to the cafeteria and eat, AKA the kitchen table, and we can discuss what amazing thing you just learned about. So
yeah, exactly. So it's just plus like it helps your focus. If you're working and you're working on something that is, mentally, that requires a lot of mental focus, it's hard when, you get disrupted and having to go back after you're distracted for some period of time. So kind of having a sign or door, and just so that everybody and that's also at home with you understand that you're, in the middle of something, that'll kind of help kind of keep your work and home separate. Now, of course, if you're working from home, what can really happen is that you forget to leave your seat.
Yeah, it's true. You do. You look and you're like, oh my gosh, how was it 2 o'clock?
You're like, have I been sitting here for 5 hours and haven't moved from my seat? The only thing I feel like sometimes I'm moving, like in a day, I'll be sitting there, I was like, oh, I think I just moved my fingers. That is it. Typing away on my keyboard. So, kind of remind yourself to take a field trip every now and then, right? Otherwise, you gotta keep it a little fresh. You gotta keep it a little different. You kind of gotta break like any monotony that you're kind of sitting through. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It could be as much as walking downstairs or walking outside around your house. Now, assuming it's not like freezing cold outside, right? But even
walking in the rain either.
Exactly. Well, don't walk in the rain either, right? If you're ever so lucky, you have a coffee shop within walking distance. I have to say that has been my savior throughout this whole time, is that I do have a coffee shop that is open and within walking distance. But I do find that even with something so close, I still get into a rut where I just sit for hours, and then I'm just like too lazy to go anywhere, to be quite honest,
Yeah.
And then I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how many people do this, but because I'm on video, I'm usually only dressed like properly from like my waist up. Like my waist up, it's all business, and the waist down is like sweatpants and stuff like that.
I think everybody does that.
Which also means like I can't get up and just walk outside because I look kind of funky. So that happens. But, whatever the case may be, you just know that you're doing yourself some good by getting up, stretching your legs. And, even if you have to just walk around your living room, that is better than sitting in your seat for the next however many hours.
Right.
A couple of tech stuff you can consider getting a VPN for your staff. So I never actually got a VPN for my staff. Did you?
No, I did not get a VPN because of the manner in which we work in. However, we use G Suite. So we use G Suite and that's the manner in which we do, I guess. It's not the same thing. I know VPN is totally different, but with G Suite, I feel like we're using something that is secure, really secure, and something that we can all plug into and unplug from as well.
Yeah, you just got to be a little careful because when you're working from home, and depending on how you have your home network set up, I mean, you could inadvertently, especially if you're living in some kind of apartment building, you could inadvertently be sharing your connection with a lot of people in your building. So,
Yeah.
make sure that you have a safe connection. A VPN will probably be like the, quickest and surefire way, but otherwise it takes a few calls to your internet company and just to make sure you have a right connection set up.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to the kind of business you have. Just take a look at the kind of business you have and how much security do you need to consider a VPN.
Right, that's a good point. The other thing that we can use for technology is something like a Google Voice, an app like that actually allows you to kind of forward phone calls to your cell phone. Having a dedicated phone line that's separate from your personal phone line will also kind of help you divide between home and work. So, you don't end up accidentally answering phone calls at all times of the day and night because it all kind of comes through your personal number.
So did you have extensions to your company number? Did you use a
Yeah, we used Grasshopper. Also neat little software too, just to kind of have a separate number for every. Well, yeah. I guess the appearance of a separate number to the outside world, but it all routes through our personal phones, right? But it's how would you say, like it's just nice to kind of have, like you said, just to have something just a little bit different. And so I'm a big proponent of when it's nights and weekend, if I'm off, I'm completely off because I feel like I need to recharge. And it's really easy for me to kind of switch off the extension so I know I'm never getting any business calls. Mm-hmm. Now that's not everybody's philosophy. I know some people just likes to be on all times, even through the weekend. I just personally, I need that space and I need that time, and I also don't want to drive my staff crazy by having them on the weekends and nights as well, or telling allowing them thinking that's the way it's supposed to be because I'm leading by example. Mm-hmm. So I love that separation. I can just turn it off and just because I know if I see it, it's gonna be in my mind. And I'm going to be tempted to answer at some point. So I just don't know that.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, funny that you should mention Grasshopper because that's one of the ones that I'm looking into because I am in a place now where with my company and with my people, which is completely appropriate to what we're talking about today. None of us work together. We all live and work in our homes, and I'm looking for ways to create extensions because now I'm finding that their clients are calling the office number, and I have inadvertently turned into an admin where I'm like,
for yourself,
where I'm like, I'm telling such and such hey, so your client just called me trying to get a hold of you. Why don't you give them a call? And for the past week, I feel like that's all I've been doing is fielding calls for other people. And I'm like, why am I even doing this? I really need to get extensions. And Grasshopper is, from what I've read and from what I've seen of them, I thought that they would be a really great option for, and not that Google Voice doesn't do it. Google Voice does it as well. But it's kind of expensive. So I could do it. I hope the Google gods don't hear me and strike me down for this, but I know that you can do it as part of a G Suite package, and I just kind of felt like it's a little more expensive and elaborate than what I need. I'd like to grow small, so.
Yeah, we used Grasshopper for a couple of years, didn't have any problems with it. Pretty easy to set up too. So and again, G Suite in itself is a great package of software as well. So it's always nice to have everything in one place. But certainly, Grasshopper was easy to use, to plug in and just do. And like I said, it's nice because everybody can program. I think everybody can program their own voice message, and then you can set up times too of how, and then it'll allow you to kind of route numbers and do round robins if you need to. So it's a great little software. It just kind of gives you a little bit of professional feel, I guess, on the phone.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny that you mentioned about the way that you would dress, because I actually get dressed, and I suggest that to anyone who wants to define the lines of where their work stops and where their home starts. if you get up and you have a routine, just like you would if you were going to get into your car and drive away to your job, if you have a routine in the morning, and maybe you don't feel like you have to do the whole hair and makeup thing, and that goes for everybody. If you don't feel like you need to do the hair and makeup thing because maybe you don't have as many Zoom calls, then, don't do that. But still, you should get dressed. I get fully dressed with the shoes and everything. I'll go into the reason why I do that here in a little bit. But I'll get up, I wash my face, and I don't do it that many Zoom calls anymore, but when I do have one, that's when I'll do the makeup and the hair, but otherwise I don't. But I still make myself, well, I do also have kids here, so I can't exactly, like, I would love to kind of just not have to wear anything, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep in the same clothes. That'd be great. But
would be convenient.
It would be very convenient. But aside from the getting dressed, I also highly suggest keeping clearly defined working hours and sticking to them. I cannot tell you how important that is. So many, 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 many years ago, I wanted it to be the best. I wanted this client to love me so, so much. And so I was available to them 24/7, like I was a friggin' doctor. And they were like, oh, great. Well, 2 a.m. I'm going to be shooting you texts, and I'm going to be shooting you emails. And then on Saturday mornings, I'm going to talk to you for an hour or so. And on Sunday mornings, I'm going to ask you to go do some work for me. And I mean, this person really took advantage of my not having defined hours, and it drove me absolutely bonkers bananas. And I learned a very valuable lesson. So that one client made me put my hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I have it everywhere. It is in my voicemails. It is in my emails. It's written in my letters of engagement. Do not contact me. And if you do, I will very nicely suggest that you contact me the next morning at 9 a.m. if you call me or try to call me in between off hours. And that's going to help you as well. Also just shut off, because you do need to shut off. You owe it to your brain, and you owe it to your health, your mental health and your physical health to keep things compartmentalized. Your work is one and your home is another. It's also very important to eat your meal somewhere that's nowhere near your office. I mentioned the what I call the cafeteria, which is really our kitchen. And that's where I eat my breakfast, and that's where I eat my lunch, because I'm tempted to sit in front of my computer and read my emails or what have you. But I don't want to do that. I have to honor my downtime, my decompression. And my work is stressful enough. I need to take a break. And that's when I take a break. It's a half an hour, right? It's just a half an hour. And I deserve that much, I feel like.
Well, I feel like in working home these days, though, you probably want to give yourself even a little bit more time than that, because we are it almost seems like we're compressing more work in the same amount of time, if not just more time with more work as well. And totally. So I used to be the person who would kind of quickly go through lunch if I even am eating eating a elaborate lunch. But now that it's working from home, I actually just take advantage, and I spend like an hour basically prepping my lunch and eating my lunch, and just to keep myself busy with doing something. Otherwise, I probably would gravitate toward looking at my email or doing something work related. But to your point, it's important for you to take these breaks, because whether or not you feel it or not, like your brain will bounce back a little bit better if you kind of just walk away from a computer for a short period of time. Although I was thinking this might be a very hard suggestion if your kitchen table happens to be your work office.
Well, yeah, but you know what? There's got to be a room that work does not exist in, even if you live in a small apartment. And let's say that in that small apartment is you're working from your kitchen table. You're right. Well, maybe you could, if you have a patio, maybe you can go outside if the weather is nice, and if it's covered, then you can go sit outside for a little bit, or maybe go sit on your couch and eat on your couch, or maybe, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever you can think of. Or maybe even after you eat, go for a quick walk around your apartment building. Just something to shut you off for even 20 minutes, walk away from the computer and come back. So that you have this opportunity for for your eyeballs to not get
recover,
strained.
right?
Yeah, they need to recover. To not get too strained, and for your brain to recover as well. Your brain needs it as well. And so in speaking to that, you should also be building a transition out of work. So I mentioned the transitioning into work, create some level of a routine, brushing the teeth, washing the face, brushing the hair, doing the makeup if you need to or want to, whatever your routine is. My routine is putting away, I usually, my son does the dishes, but he won't put away Tupperware, and I'm fine with that because I'm a little OCD about the way my Tupperware gets put away. So when he puts them on the what do you call it, on the drying
rack?
No, it's not a drying rack, but it's like these. Oh my God, my brain is these towel looking things that are kind of thick, and he puts them on there to dry, and then they'll dry overnight, and that's every morning I put those away, and I make my little one's breakfast, and I have a routine. I do the same thing every morning, and I have oats, but they take like 30 minutes to cook. So in the 30 minutes that it's taking for my oats to cook, I'm doing like all of those things, feeding the dogs and whatnot. And that's my transition into work. And when it's done, I eat and then I start work. And I'm usually done with everything by 9 a.m. And, I can go transition right into work. Now, out of work. And it's important for you to know that you wouldn't normally go directly from giving a big presentation or working on a huge project and immediately go make dinner or the equivalent. You have an opportunity to commute when you're not working from home. And this is giving your brain a clear division of work and home. So when you're working from home, you have to do the same thing. You have to build in a set time. And this is the reason why I get fully dressed in the morning. I wear workout clothes and I put sneakers on every morning so that as soon as I am done with, I'm basically done with work, that's when I start transitioning. You will go for a walk, take the dog for a walk, listen to a podcast. I have a great suggestion for one.
Hint.
Clean up
Hopefully you're listening to this while you're walking right now.
I know, right? While clean up your office and space to prepare for the next day. Write out a list of the things that you need to do the following day so that your brain doesn't carry that into your personal space. This is your way of dividing your work and your home. Now, it's also important that you set maybe a weekly or a monthly call with your employees, because if you don't work alone, then it's important for you to create some level of connection with your employees also, if your company isn't already requiring you regularly to do this. It can be a 30-minute call to just check in and connect. With me and my staff, we do a once a month 30-minute call. It's both business and personal, both. Let's talk about all the things that we need to talk about with business, but then let's also everybody share. Maybe there's some kind of an ask that you have, or maybe there's something that's been troubling you that you want to kind of hash out with the rest of us. So, and it's really great because, as I said before, we are social creatures and we can't function without some form of verbal contact. We have to have it. And this is healthy for your employees too.
Well, I think it's also important to remember that it's good for, if you're a founder for small business, to kind of reach out to your employees. I think sometimes, again, we see the world kind of through our own lens and our own perception, our own experiences. So because we are very proactive, we may think that other people, just kind of leave it to that, hey, I'm open, my quote unquote door is open. If they have issues, they'll reach out to me. And to be quite honest, in my experience, I find that unless you create that opportunity, it is much harder for one of your staff or one of your employees to reach out to you when things are happening. Whereas if you create that space, saying that you have a set 30-minute call every week, it'll open a floor up for them to give you feedback and to connect with you, and it's already there. So if you have like a layer, like if you have a managerial layer between yourself and like some of the staff in your company, then I would strongly suggest that you make it a kind of company policy for your managers to make sure that they're reaching out to their staff regularly and then yourself to reach out to your manager if that's still the role you play. But again, having that just there and being proactively set on a calendar is much better than, especially in this remote age where you really don't see anybody anymore. So it's very much out of sight, out of mind. And so, it's really hard for you to keep connected with your employees if you don't have something already as a placeholder on the calendar.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. It's funny because prior to a year ago, I didn't do this. And as soon as the lockdown started, that was when I realized I felt very polarized. Even though I've been working from home, I've actually been working from home since 2002 or 2003, I think. It's a long time for someone to be working from home, but I started my company 10 years ago. So for 10 years, I've been actively working from home, but all of a sudden I felt alone. And so I started putting in these ways for me to be connected to my staff. And funny enough, as soon as we started becoming more connected, the more they shared with me and the more they talked to me and the more they told me about things about the clients that I wouldn't have otherwise known that were very important for me to know for continuity. So,
have you ever done the daily huddle before?
I don't want to talk to them every day. Wait, what do you mean by daily?
Yeah, no. So, and that's an interesting point too. It's actually the same sentiment I have, but I know that a daily huddle is like it's a very popular practice for a lot of companies where they call it daily stand up or anything like that, where it really shouldn't last more than 15 minutes, but it is kind of company wide, and it's supposed to kind of connect everybody together with a quick kind of update and check-in of everybody at once. And I've heard that it's super effective. I did try it at my own company for a little while, but personally, I felt like it was a little overbearing. I didn't really
I don't want to talk to them that much.
Well, on the flip side too is whether or not, if they really want to talk to you that much either.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think they want to talk to me that much.
So
I can see how it could be effective for other companies.
A lot of companies use it to a lot of positive benefits. I've heard it recommended quite a few times in different books. But again, it kind of comes down to you choose what's best for your company. I just thought it was interesting because you were talking about weekly or monthly, and I was like, oh, she didn't write anything in here about daily. I bet she doesn't want to do daily, does she?
No, I don't want to do daily.
I think I found after a while, it's like I don't know. I think it's a little bit too much. Because I think that if a weekly is not enough, maybe even other day, especially if you have a project. Let's say you have a fast turnaround project you need to do. I think every other day is probably just fine. But doing it daily, I don't know. I mean, unless you have that many fast moving projects, I just feel like at some point I think your coworkers or your staff will just be tired of seeing you or talking to you every day, right?
Look, I
tried it, was not for me.
Yeah, it's not my scene. I don't want to talk to anybody every day.
But it is something to think about, right? If you do have a project that needs a quick turnaround,
for sure,
and you have multiple people working on it, then maybe daily, again, a quick 15 minutes daily huddle. You can Google it. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it's supposed to be quick and it's supposed to be really effective. So,
well. I personally like the monthly because we don't have projects that we work together on, but I do like the idea of a daily huddle or a weekly huddle or a monthly huddle. And it worked. The 30 minutes a month is just enough for all of us. We're all very, very busy with our own clients, and 30 minutes makes them feel like, okay, I can dedicate 30 minutes to this and not feel like I'm falling backwards. And so it's been really good for us. Well,
I guess something to think about too is just the type of people you work with, right? So who you hire. If you're hiring people who has a lot of work experience, they probably want a little more autonomy.
Yeah.
And so they really
and
need
that's
you
what
to
I have.
Whereas if you're working largely with maybe people who just graduated from college, who still new at career, they probably appreciate a daily check-in to help set direction for their day because they'll feel like they're a little bit floating around or a little bit floating in a gray if they don't have somebody helping them kind of point them to the right direction every day. So largely also kind of what type of workforce you have.
Yeah. And the kind of business you're in. And with us, I mean, I can't say that accountants or bookkeepers have, sparkling personalities, generally speaking. So, once a month, I mean, outside of us, generally speaking, though, like they're usually one sentence conversations, but at least that's been my experience where I'm like, you're good, great. That's great. But I go off of the personality of the people that work for me. They really don't want to be talking for more than 30 minutes. So that's the thing, right? Is that you need to pay attention to the kind of people that are working for you and what their personalities are. Love languages are not just for your romantic relationships. Love languages, and I say love language all the freaking time. Love language.
I'm pretty sure they have the book for love languages for your coworkers or the people you work with.
I mean,
they probably should actually, because
love
true.
languages are it is the core of your success. You have to be able to speak the same love language, and the same, and it is so important even for people that work for you, the people that work for you, the people that you work with, your clients, whatever it may be. But anyway, so you need to take advantage of the fact, and you probably just heard my phone go off too because I work from home, and you got to take advantage of the fact that you work from home. You really should take advantage of it as well. I mean, it's not for the conversations that I've had. I feel like all week have been like, this is my prison. I'm never getting out. But it's not. It doesn't have to be. It can be something where you can feel a little bit more freedom as well. Like you mentioned, you actually take time to make yourself a lunch, or like today I made myself a soup for lunch, and I wouldn't have had the time or the ability to do that if I didn't work from home. And also and you can also take something up. Like I took up knitting, which has been, you should see the abysmal scarf. Only I can enjoy and love my scarf, but I don't know that anyone else would. But for you, it could be baking, it could be cooking, it could be painting, whatever it is. If you need a midday break, you can use this perk to keep your brain from suffering. This speaks, right? And I feel like it speaks a lot also to people who have kids at home. And like, this is not to separate, because a lot of people don't have kids at home, and a lot of people are just are at home by themselves, and there's a lot of suffering going on there too. But when you've got kids at home, then you also understand that structure is important for everybody, and they have some structure with their remote learning, but it's important to fit a schedule that's going to work for you as well as it would work for them. And that seems to be the conversation I've had a lot with some of my staff, because I'd say 90% of them have kids at home. So it's a matter of how are we still doing what we need to do, and be able to I heard the word mega mom, and I couldn't get it out of my head.
I've never heard of that before. What does that mean?
I heard it today. They were like, the super mom, like, forget the super mom, now it's the mega mom. And I'm like, oh my God, that is me. Because the mega mom is the teacher. They are the coach. They are the trainer. They are the cook. They are the worker. They are the mom. They are literally everything.
I can see why there's a new name for the mega mom, especially when it becomes how much teaching is involved now that we have this remote learning going on.
It's insane. It's insane. And like now I have to check and make sure that they've done their homework. Now I got to make sure that they've turned all their things in. Have they written this? Have they done that? And like, I never used to be that involved, but now I have to be. And a couple of the women on my staff, they decided to, because of the age of their children, to homeschool. So there's homeschooling involved within all of it. I mean, it is just, I'm ready for this to be over, is all I can say.
I feel like you're in good company, though.
Yeah. My last suggestion is to turn off your computer and set a timer on your phone to stop push notifications after hours. And it's very important that if you don't see it, out of sight, out of mind, if you don't see an email, you're like,
a nice do not disturb button that you can press now. I suggest you set that automatically to turn on at a certain hour of the night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just set a timer, whatever it is. If you have, like, I have my do not disturb set, and it is a beautiful thing. So I don't get I don't get it. And I have told everyone on my staff, look, if it's something extremely important, text me and I will look. And that's happened a couple of times, which, I can't log into something, or I need to send you a code because I'm working tonight, whatever it may be. And that's fine with me if it's coming from my staff because they're being productive, but not for a client or not for just anybody. Right. And I don't know if that sounds unprofessional but that doesn't seem, it's not unprofessional in my mind. I feel like if I had a business and I got to shut the door and lock it, would you be standing out there at 10 p.m. knocking on the door expecting me to answer? No. So don't do that to my cell phone.
Yeah. I mean, I used to tell my staff too, though. I think, one, I tell them, do not get yourself in a pinch that you need an emergency help at like 9 o'clock at night, right? So we have to be respectful of everybody's time. So if you back yourself in a corner, just know that there's a possibility that if you send a text to somebody, they may not be available because this is after hours. So we kind of have that rule going around. Luckily, it's never happened very much to do that. I do have, the only reason I use do not disturb is because I do have staff who decides they want to work at different hours. The great thing about working remotely, working at home, and if you have a great you have a company culture that kind of fits that, it does kind of allow you to kind of work whatever hours that work for you. Mm-hmm. Assuming that, assuming that you don't, have some kind of business that requires a certain hour, like a certain time for things to be done, right? But, right. Externally, we tell our clients 9 to 5. And I used to tell my staff, be available from 9 to 5, right? So if a client has an emergency, you should be available. Outside of that, if you want to take 2 hours to be able to do something with your kid because you have to, sit with them for school, or you need to do something in the middle of the day, that's fine. Just be available for the emergencies. But otherwise, shift those 2 hours around and do it at some other time that fits you. So I used to have staff that it depends. It's always like split. Either you're a night owl or you wake up really early in the morning. Yeah. So half our staff sometimes would like work at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and sometimes till like 11 at night, only because they were busy during the day with other things. And then I did have a handful of staff who likes to do it at 4 a.m. in the morning.
What? No.
I can't. And it's funny because they're actually in good company, because there were other people on our staff that was awake at 4 a.m. in the morning. So it's funny because I'm like, I'm asleep. So my do not disturb is on. So like they'll send stuff, but they'll know that like nobody's going to reply. Except for certain people, they already worked out that they all work at the same hours in the morning. Yeah. And so I was just put on do not disturb because I was like, I really do not want to get pinged with an IM at 4 o'clock in the morning. I am asleep.
Yeah.
That is it. Airplane mode. That's all you're getting. But it is important though to have some kind of cutoff. Otherwise, you'll just go on.
Well, I mean, to be fair, my do not disturb comes on at 9 p.m. Yeah. So I give everybody, because not most, but a lot of them work at night, and so I mean, no one's going to need anything special from me after 9 o'clock. Like, why would you contact me? So mine is from 9 to, I think, 6 a.m., 6 or 7 a.m. I think 7 a.m. But that's mostly because, I've got kids who are waking up to whatever. So it's like 9 to 7 or something like that. But you're right. There should be some kind of a cutoff. So I wonder who you think, we like to discuss some famous example to anchor our listeners to someone or to something or to some company that is out there on a national scale that speaks to what it is that we're talking about here. So in saying that, who would you say, or who are some of what companies are what you would consider your famous examples?
Yeah, so I mean, the company I have in mind is actually an international company. It's called Automatic. It's spelled with 2 T's for the Matic part. And it's actually a company behind WordPress. So WordPress is probably a little bit more popular that people have heard of. If anybody who's ever created a website or tried to hire somebody to design a website, you probably heard the question, do you have a WordPress site or does your company use WordPress?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So WordPress is this really wildly popular platform for websites because it's an open source content management platform. And Automatic, which is the company behind it, the reason why it has two T's is because it's named for the founder, Matt Mullenweg, and it was founded in 2005. And as of today, there's over 1,000 employees worldwide, and they all work remotely, and they all
is so cool.
Like mobile. Yeah. And that's just that's how they started, and that's how they kept going. And they have no offices. They have the unlimited vacation time, and they have very few managers, but yet they've built a very strong culture, and colleagues work as teams, and they're closely tied together, and just somehow they figured it out with everybody spread across the world. So, they're really like the epitome of stuff like agile practices. They practice the 20% time theory, which is something that like companies like Google have and Apple, where they allow employees 20% of their time to just work on their own ideas. They have casual Fridays. They also implement things like no email Mondays. But they've really kind of come a long way over the years of figuring out how to kind of closely tie everybody together and have a company culture while being spread out in multiple countries.
That is so cool.
Really fascinating.
Huh. That's really cool. And I love WordPress, so there you go.
Me too. Powers my website.
Yeah. So a company that I am so fascinated by, Zapier. And I learned about them when I was discussing a frustration I had about automation, and a colleague mentioned Zapier, and I was like, what is that? And I looked into it, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Well, she was like, design a Zap.
Yeah.
How do I zap something?
Yeah, just zap it. And I'm like, zap what? What are you even saying? Are those words coming out of your mouth? Yeah, so Zapier is an app. It's a platform that connects, or it's an app really that zaps. It connects your platforms to one another, and it automates the process. It's really cool. And the company was started in 2011 with three founders, Wade Foster, Brian Helmick, and Mike Knoop. And it was started in Columbia, Missouri. At that time, they lived in the same city, but they had different schedules, day jobs, school, and all that kind of stuff. And they couldn't afford an office, so they started remote. And as they grew, they just kind of stayed that way. Now they have 350 employees, and they're located all over the U.S. and in 23 different countries. Same kind of concept where they're an international company. Everyone works remote, always has, and yet somehow when I have spoken to someone at Zapier, I feel like they're my next door neighbor. It is the coolest thing. It's really cool. They've fostered a great culture there, and somehow they all still feel very connected, even though none of them work together in the same building. So that I think between WordPress and Zapier, I think those are great examples that our listeners can maybe research a little bit more if they're looking to model their companies in that manner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's if they can, and both of these companies built from the ground up, like 1 employee, 2 employee, 3 employee. They weren't like 1,000 employees overnight or decided to go remote. They started small. So, if they can build a strong company culture, then it's definitely doable.
Yeah. So in speaking of culture, I have a few books and apps and recommendations. And so for me and my company to foster a culture where we feel like we're a village, I use Google Chat. It's great for group conversations, and I have it broken out into departments. Since my company does bookkeeping and admin and HR, I have 3 different rooms so that admin doesn't have to be a part of the bookkeeping because it's going to be totally over their head. And then the bookkeeping doesn't have to listen to the admin. So they have separate rooms, and it's a great place for each of us to ask questions of one another. Or there was a situation, well, I guess it wasn't really a situation, but I have a client who had an ask of their bookkeeper, and that bookkeeper was like, I am so busy that I can't do this thing that they're asking of me. would anyone like to help me on this? And one of the other bookkeepers chimed in, and now the two of them are going to be working together on this.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's happened quite a few times where someone will be like, hey, I need help with something. Can you help hold the load, carry the load? And it's really cool to get to see that and how my staff partner up sometimes to work together towards a common goal. And it's the coolest thing. I also mentioned earlier that I use Google Voice. I forward it to my cell phone so that I don't have to give out my cell phone number. But now I'm going to consider, I researched Grasshopper earlier today, and I will be more so considering it since you have so highly recommended it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So even though we're zoomed out, I do still recommend Zoom. It is still, you don't have to use your camera if you don't want to, but it has been a great way for me to, when I'm onboarding clients, I can record the conversation so that I can go back to maybe some detail that I couldn't remember exactly what they said, and I can go back to it. That's been really nice. There's an app called Daywise. If you want to, you could use this. It's for scheduling notifications to stop after work hours, and it's a do not disturb. You could also set it up on your phone, depending on what kind of phone you have, but otherwise you could use this app. I have all my email notifications turned off on my phone, so I only see emails when I'm sitting in front of the computer. I don't feel like it's necessary for me to see an email.
It feels like it doesn't follow you around, right?
Yeah, they don't follow me around. I don't know when I will literally only see an email if I go into my email myself. I don't get any notifications. And I did that on purpose because I work actively while I'm sitting here. I will get the email here. When I walk away from this computer, I walk away from all the work. Toggle is great for time tracking and for better project planning. I also use T-Sheets. It connects to QuickBooks if you use that. And as I mentioned before, I wear my workout outfit with my sneakers. So as soon as I'm done with my workday, I can easily go work out and not make an excuse as to why I can't. Because, I've been sitting in a chair for as long as I have. It's important for me to be active. Afterwards, I shower, I wear my lounge clothes, I make my dinner, the door to my office is shut, and I have made the division between my work and home, and I am not tempted to go back into my office because the door is closed. And like I mentioned earlier, I took up knitting to keep my hands busy and off my phone when I'm watching TV, so that I'm not like, ooh, I wonder if that person ever responded to my email. Nope. I'm knitting. Too busy making my scarf.
Hard to help. You can't help yourself, right? So just cut yourself off.
Totally. And as far as a book, I think that the classic, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen, I think it's Covey. I think it's pronounced Covey.
I've always said Covey, Stephen Covey, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I see it, and that's how I've always heard it in my head. So anyways, by Stephen Covey, it gives you the tools you need to define those lines for your productivity so that you aren't constantly distracted. It is a fantastic book. I'm not huge on business books because I do tend to do a little overdo it on my history and like the history of things. But when it comes to business books, this one is a great one.
It is a classic.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, you can't perfect what he has to say. So highly suggest that one. What about for you, Chloe? What are your suggestions?
So I think one thing I think we were talking about earlier is just kind of how you transition into your day. So my rituals are pretty short-lived. I usually have like an action to transition in and transition out. It's kind of like an action I do that kind of just signals to my brain that, hey, it's time to get started for the day. So to transition in for the day, it's pretty easy for me. All I have to do is basically get dressed. Well, apparently now everybody knows my secret. I only get dressed from like the waist up, sweatpants on the bottom.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that kind of turns my day on is kind of the ability to just kind of put on makeup. Sometimes I don't always go out, but I do find that if I put on makeup, I'll be a little more inclined to be less lazy to leave my apartment. But it isn't even so much about vanity. It's just the fact that is my trigger. So if I don't have that trigger, I would just have a different trigger to kind of, get me in that mode. And then to transition out, at the end of the day, I have this one trigger again, which is basically I close the lid of my laptop, I tidy away and close the, whatever notebook I have open. I basically just tidy my desk and kind of store my laptop away. And that's, my way of telling my brain that, hey, it's time to shut off. And now it's a different part of my day. So my triggers are a little bit more simple in that sense. So to start the day, I feel like because with all of the meetings and everything that goes on a day, all the Zoom meetings and the phone calls, and now it's all high touch because I feel like nobody gets enough attention, right, on your day-to-day. So everybody's very much more easier to pick up the phone to call you or get you on a call. I find that I actually need to kind of corner off my day in the beginning instead of answering emails, which is what most people get up and do. I actually start my morning with a couple hours of just focus time. So I actually turn off my email. So I do the offline email if you're using Microsoft Office. I turn off my chat. I turn off my phone. I put it on airplane mode. And I just have 2 solid hours of just focusing on what my top 3 items are for the day. And the craziest thing is it's incredibly anti-intuitive because you're probably like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? Like people are probably emailing and wanting you, whatnot. But honestly, 2 hours doesn't make that big of a difference. So I start my day with what's the most 3 things that's most important to me. And that always tends to set my day on a good pattern because I feel like once I dive back into the emails, I'm ready. Like, because emails take a lot of energy from you. It takes, because if you think about it, and maybe most people don't realize this, is that when you're answering emails, you're going through your inbox. Now, I don't know how much emails you get. I average 100 easy in a day, right?
Yeah, me too.
Every one of those emails essentially is you making a decision. What to do with it, what to say, where does it go? And so you're going through hundreds of decisions for a period of time, and it drains your brain. So emails is something that I tend to move toward the late morning, if not early afternoon. Again, very anti-intuitive because, you're probably thinking something's burning at that point. But honestly, nothing ever crazy ever happens. And to be quite honest, if somebody really needs to get a hold of you, they will find a way to get a hold of you.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
See. So that's always been something I've done, and I still do now to kind of start my day off right and focus on the most important thing while you're still really fresh in the morning. So as far as software, I use Microsoft's products quite a bit. I mean, the whole suite of Microsoft Office. So Microsoft Teams is usually my go-to for chats and videos. So Microsoft Team also has like a phone number component too if you want to purchase that. So that's kind of nice if you have somebody who doesn't want to use the app while they're traveling on their phone, they need to dial in instead. But, same functions as Zoom pretty much. I think they kind of gone head to head, especially with the whole pandemic thing. Teams kind of really came out of nowhere and I felt like was huge competition for Zoom. But, you can record things. It's, directly related to your chat. You can file things away. It's tied into your SharePoint. So, I tend to gravitate toward Microsoft Teams. There are other tasks too, like other softwares used to kind of help assign tasks in a project. Now, this has been incredibly helpful, especially with all this remote working that we're doing right now, is having like a place where it's almost like your project board and everybody can kind of help assign tasks. You can see what other people are working on. I think you said Toggle was for a project plan. So that's a pretty good one. Trello is something that I've used before, right?
Yeah, I've used Trello too.
Yeah. So I think any kind of these, it just depends on how you work, will be really helpful just to kind of help everybody stay aligned to what the other person's working on. Another like a great time saver, especially now, again, with this high volume of meeting requests, is I like to use softwares like Calendly.
Yes. Calendly.
And like Schedule Once, like those kind of software where it allows you to embed a link that's tied to your calendar. And so that if somebody wants to schedule a meeting, you can basically program the your calendar so that you can only take meetings on a certain time. You get that link to the person, and they basically can open it up, see all the available times on your calendar within the limits that you have put in on it, match it up to their calendar, and just book a time. And that way it really cuts down a whole back and forth of, are you available at this time? What about this date and time? What about these dates and time? That takes a lot of time. Now, it's really funny because I think maybe now it's a little bit more embraced, but and maybe the sentiment is still true, but I think a lot of people feel like that's a very impersonal way of setting up a meeting.
Yeah.
But to be quite honest, I was like, well, cut to the chase, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you set a meeting, let's just set up
Definitely.
a meeting, right? And so, again, with this whole pickup in the volume of meetings we have, that's probably a little bit more embraced than it was before. But, you know,
Yes.
just as a tip, I do also put in there, hey, you know, if you would like, if it's convenient for you, here's the link for you to set up a meeting on my calendar directly. Otherwise, feel free to send a few times that you are available and we can schedule through that way.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, they use the link. As far as a book that I would recommend, again, kind of going back to the company we were discussing, Automatic, which is the company behind WordPress. There's a book called, it's actually a really funny title. It's actually called A Year Without Pants.
Oh, it's written for you.
It's WordPress.com and the Future of Work. It's by Scott Birkin. And essentially he deep dives into the culture at Automatic and how they actually function, all the little tips and tricks that they use, all the strategies they have to build a culture remotely. And it'll give like the reader a great insight on and actually a lot of creative ideas that you can take and kind of apply to your business, because they really come up with some very innovative ways of building this culture. And it's based on everything we talked about, which is, you know, software, chats, file sharing, whatever you're doing. And they've basically been doing this for quite a few years now. They basically incorporated all that and, you know, again, build this amazing culture that they have today. And I mean, and just to be fair too, it's not like they're 100% remote all the time. I mean, they do have like company building events, but I think like they do things really cool in a sense that like if you and a team member, like if you're on a team, like the team members, I forget what it was called, but they can actually all decide to meet up somewhere, like in a country, right? So again, these are all people scattered in different countries. So like Europe, you can meet up somewhere in Europe, and then you'll collaborate for a short period of time, and then you'll all go back to like your respective homes and continue. And so it's kind of cool. It's like really like on the go. And it somehow it just like it all works. And the book is also just super entertaining and super fun to read too. So
cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually going to read that one.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
History.
Yes.
All Automatic. There you go.
Since I'm home, I have time to read it. So I hope that you all have gathered a few ideas that maybe you didn't have before on how you can better carve out a space for your business in your home. May it be a corner in a room of your apartment, maybe it be a kitchen table or any kind of table, or a dedicated room, or for some people could be the whole basement. Whatever it may be, your company should have its own address and should be respected as your place of business. And so hopefully you've learned what you can do and what you should not do in order for that to materialize. So please join us for our next episode, where we will discuss working in your business versus working on your business. We will explore what this means and how to transition you from a glorified job creator to a true business owner. Want to ask a question? Leave a comment or become a sponsor for a future episode of The Business Behind Small Business? Click on the link in the show notes and fill out the form. Until next time, thanks.